Get ready for a great show.
Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. For the topic of our discussion tonight, we are going to examine part 2 of the question, is marriage a dying institution? Before we get started, however, I would like to take this time briefly to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. People need to know. Share the love. You can catch Black Space Live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Spotify. And you can catch us on Anchor FM, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Our star-studded panelists are back this evening, and man, it's not a Rudy Poot in the bunch. They all come, they packing, they slinging, and they swinging. Am I hyping it up too much, y'all? I can't
I'm laughing at Rudy Poot.
Right.
Don't tell on my capital.
No hype.
Yeah,
I don't know how to take that one.
Somebody said no hype too. We're going to handle this. We're going to handle it just like that. All right. So I'd like to just take a moment and let you all just say hello to the listeners and viewers, watchers, and just tell them something that you think they should know about you, beginning with Doc Locks.
You always do that, right?
It's a Freudian thing or something.
We need to get that fixed.
All right. Got to work on that. Got to work on that.
I am Doc Lux, and I'm happy to be here with you all tonight.
Welcome, Doc Locks.
Thank you.
Mel Cruz.
Hi, yeah, I'm the only Mel Cruz, and like Doc Locke said, I'm happy to be here tonight too. Can't wait to chop up this topic.
Welcome back, Mel Cruz. Oh boy, I can feel the heat already.
Well, she got fire in the background. Oh no, you don't. Okay.
She's back in there warming up, like getting, doing the calisthenics and everything. Okay. All right. Penny.
I am Penny Finley from the great state of Florida. Commercial pilot and young adult youth male advocate.
Right
I'm
on,
going
right on.
to my speech.
Right on with the right ons. Welcome back. So we had a very rousing part 1, and part 1 was actually just myself and Doc Locks, and I really enjoyed that discussion. It was very peaceful. It was meditational. It was cognitively challenging. Doc Locks is a deep thinker, and so I always appreciate that type of energy and that type of interaction. Now it's going to be on steroids because we have intellectual power to the exponential. What's the exponential to the 10th power? Somebody's an engineer here. You know what I'm talking about. I flunked all my math and physics classes, so I'm going to mess up the terminology. But anyway, I want to open the show up with the last few minutes of part 1, just to kind of set the context. Hopefully y'all can hear this. Last question before we close up.
Mm-hmm.
For today, as a successful woman in America, from the woman's perspective, what is the benefit for today's successful woman, to get married?
I don't know that there is one outside of companionship.
So, do you need marriage for companionship?
Mm-mm. You don't need it, but I think with marriage comes should come with companionship, right?
Okay.
Because that's your person, and that's the person you are building and growing with. So, if you want to go on vacation, if you want to go on a concert, or, don't make that person your everything. But, and my friends and I talk about this because a lot of us are divorced. And then the other half have never been married and they want to get married. But when I ask them, why do you want to get married? And they say, because it's something I want to experience. It's not a reason to get married, right? So I don't think so. I do have a friend who is over 60 and she is planning her wedding, her first wedding. And she's getting married for love. So I think it depends on the person, but overall, no.
And from a woman's perspective, what is the benefit for today's man to get married from your perspective as a woman?
It depends on the man. I think studies show men live longer when they are partnered. So, and we take that to mean marriage. And I think that and their health is better when they are in a marriage or in a family unit. But I think today, as I sit here, that's it. Yeah. When we take all of the over-romanticizing out, when I think about my male friends, most of them can cook. All of them know how to clean up. All of them know how to pay bills very well. They're very good with investments. Yeah, so they have all that they need.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
All right. That was toward the end of the show, and that was pretty.
You left out the best part, though.
She put it on you. Dun, dun,
No.
dun.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun.
No,
Oh no!
the
We're
last part was.
I know what don't go there yet because we're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
we're gonna
Okay.
get that. Yeah, you're right there. We're
Because I
gonna.
thought about that the other day.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna definitely hit that. So, Penny, how did that strike you? Her assessment in terms of advantages, disadvantages for either side of the coin.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I think that a lot of women quote the benefits of marriage to men because, I mean, they're very popular, repeated, and I won't say talking points because they're true, but they leave out the fact that, women also live longer. Married women live longer than single women do. Their health is better. Married women's health outcomes are better when they're married than when they're single. And another thing that is often missed because we focus a lot on, the perspective of how men are benefits because it's a very feminine centered point of view, right? And women benefit from marriage too. By life expectancy, health outcomes, income is a big one. Income is a big one. Both parties, married people have more money, more wealth. They married people on average save 4 times that what single people save. So there's a lot of benefits for both parties that is just not talked about. And married people this is the shocking. Married people have more sex. Married people have way more sex than single people do. And married people report, and these are, of course, surveys, right? They report a better quality of life than single folks do. So I think that there's benefits to both people. But if you want to be practical in America, a place that's very capitalistic, I think the financial benefits to marriage far outweigh being single. It's not even close.
And Mel Cruz, I could tell by your facial reactions that you are in total alignment, in total agreement with everything that Penny said. So it's okay. Would you feel free to just kind of back Penny up in everything he said, because I know you were just chomping at the bit to really agree with him.
Mm-hmm. So, it's not that I disagree with Penny. What had me pretty much being responsive is the fact that it just kind of was giving whataboutism, but which is okay because, that's just kind of what I was hearing. But I don't disagree with his whataboutisms. I agree with both Doc Locks and Penny. I would add that a reason for getting married for a woman or a man today is to honor God and do as the Bible has instructed, and be married under the manner in which marriage was designed. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian, for those that aren't, then, it's whatever, But for those who are a believer, because there's a lot of believers in Christ who, quote unquote, living in sin. So, because they feel that, marriage doesn't benefit anyone or what have you. So I would add that. But yeah, I think there are studies about mostly men living longer as a result of being married. Having a spouse, man or woman, having a spouse does provide that level of companionship, especially if you have a good relationship. So yeah, there's benefits to it. There's reasons to get married.
Doc,
I forgot, George.
Okay, go ahead.
Children.
Yeah.
Children. The greatest benefactors to marriage is children. There is, I don't care where you go on the planet, time immemorial, children are the biggest benefactors to marriage. That's where they're socialized, and there's no institution in the history of mankind that is better for children than marriage.
All the research seems to back that up. Doc Locke says, would you like to adjust anything that you heard on the last 10 minutes of the previous show, or address anything that Penny said?
I think children are better served with people who want them, however that looks, right? I was married and I left the union because I wanted my child to see and feel love every day. And he wouldn't have gotten that had I stayed married. A lot of people believe, and there was an article in the Atlantic that talked about the myth of marriage and how it has been portrayed. And I'm not anti-marriage by any stretch of the imagination, but how it's been portrayed that if you get married and you have the 2.5 kids and you buy the house, that you are somehow in a safe place or your life is better as a result. And the article talks about how that's not always true. And I think when we talk about these topics, we need to talk about them from all perspectives and not just one, right? Because we have a lot of evidence of children coming from single parent homes by mothers and fathers who are highly successful, highly functional, and loved.
Yeah, but the data doesn't, again, obviously there's nuance in everything, right? If there were a married couple.
You always say the data, but you never give the source of the data.
I mean, there are numerous studies. I mean, you can Google any study by any institution.
We're talking about it in the here and now.
Heritage Foundation has done studies on marriage. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has done study of marriage. The Department of Education has done studies on marriage. There are several
Pew Research Center, and they didn't have those.
The Kaiser Institute has done studies on marriage. There are several.
Check out the Pew Research Center.
And they all come to the same conclusion. the same conclusion.
That's right. You tell him. You tell him. What's your dog's name?
That's Max. Pardon me for one.
You tell him, Max. No. Max got something to say.
No, he doesn't. But what that article made me think about
my wife is pulled up. That's why exactly.
What that article made me think about is, have we been indoctrinated to believe that marriage is better?
How is it an indoctrination when everybody draws that same conclusion? And it no matter the culture, no matter the culture,
you love
no matter
to
the
cut me
country,
off. You love to not let me finish my thought or my sentence.
Talking when I got interrupted by my dog, but I'll yield.
But go ahead.
My point was, I was talking about the fact that I was going to make the point of, when I make these comments, they're speaking in generality. There's moving in good faith, right? Certainly, not every marriage is great. Marriage is perfect. If I said that there were a couple that was married and they were both incarcerated and they had children, certainly that marriage is not conducive to a good and positive environment for the children. But when I talk about marriage, I'm talking about your typical marriage that's under the bell curve, right? It's not violent. There's not a lot of infidelity. They tend to be of moderate income and not on the extremes. Okay, but when we speak against marriage, we tend to talk about the negative outcomes. And again, if we're talking about the bell curve with respect to single parenting with children that are from single parent homes under the bell curve tend to underperform compared to their counterparts that come from 2-parent households. We tend to point out in marriage the bad marriages and the bad situations, but when we talk about single parents,
so I'm gonna interrupt you because I have a child who had a 4.0, who had more than 30 offers, academic and athletic, to go to college, and is at a college right now killing it. So are we under or over the degrees
and I was valedictorian 3 times. I have 3 degrees.
Are we under? That's all I'm asking. Are we under or over the bell curve? That's all I want to know. And that's all I want to know. Because what I'm tired of is people bashing.
Where did I bash?
The single parent.
Where did I bash?
Okay. The data says, but can't give them no data points. Okay.
Where did I bash?
So stop it.
Where did I bash? I didn't bash anything.
George, go on to the next thing, honey.
I didn't bash anything.
Okay, we're going to definitely explore that more. These are things that this is the real stuff that people are dealing with in addressing the current trajectory.
Neil, why are you laughing? The
only you want to go ahead and say something, Cruz?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you, Doc. I really do. For getting on Penny. Sorry, Penny, but you deserve it. The thing is that and I like you, Penny. I just want you to know I do like you. But yeah, I mean, you are spewing and you're saying the data, and you're not saying like where it comes from. And I think my issue with the way you're presenting it is you're making it one is better than the other. At least that's the way the tone and the presentation of your data. So so
one
when
is right and one is wrong.
Yeah.
So if I say that driving 80 miles an hour through a school zone is not safe for children, but because when they've done it and they've measured it, more accidents happen, or driving 15 miles an hour in a school zone is safer for kids, that's me bashing the 80 miles per hour or favoring one. The facts and the data says
and how you're saying it is very different. That's what I don't think you understand.
I'm just saying.
Let me interject.
Well, maybe you should review the tape and see how you present one fact over the other fact.
I'm just stating facts.
In one fact, you are very dogmatic about this is right. This is your posture even changes, right?
I'm saying one works. One is shown to work.
How you know it works? That's what I want to know.
So let me
married 5 minutes. How you know?
Let me interject here.
So my parents, my uncles, aunts, and the millions of people that are married that have proven this to work, that doesn't matter.
So I'm observing here, and I have to say, it's interesting to see the perceptions, because I would have to say that how you all are perceiving Penny is not at all how I'm perceiving him. I took him as pretty much stating objective material and from a collective uh, platform. No, he wasn't going to the specific date, time, and year of each significant study. But we're all grown-ups here. We all know how to kind of go. Now, I'm just thinking as a man, so I'm not judging, but I'm just thinking as a man. We all know how to go. I mean, this show would be kind of boring if all we did was cite specific authors and magazine articles and research centers and all that type. Everybody has their source that they like to refer
Sure.
to. So, I didn't see that. Now, what I do understand is that for most women today who are in a single parent status, that there does seem to be this, at least a perception, if not a valid reality, that the single mother often catches the heat for everything that's wrong with the world, that's wrong with the family. And so I'm picking that up from Doc Locks. And I think she has a valid issue there. However, I just didn't see that come across um, in Penny's delivery. And
Because you're
speaking
in
as a
an
man,
echo chamber. You two are the echo chamber. You all bounce off of each other, right? And when I told somebody that I was going to be on this podcast, again, they were like, maybe this is not a good place for you because of the energy and the conversation is not always fair or just.
well,
Um,
let me give you some
and you're
additional.
interrupting me too, but go ahead.
Well, the this is an organic conversation, so I mean, I don't want it to be like, okay, you 5 minutes, then you 5 minutes, and then next you 5 minutes, and then next you 5 minutes. I mean, it's organic and
Mhm.
it's all in respect, but you said something about an echo chamber, so I wanted to drill with you on that. Um, I'm a therapist by trade. That's what I do. And as a therapist, I pride myself on my ability to be observational and objective without having to have a particular side. And I'm so good at it that it many times irritates the producer of this show because he wants me to really be more aggressive in taking a particular side. And so while I may have a personal feeling about things, I pride myself on the fact that I can hear both sides and give them equal weight in terms of where they're coming from. So when you say echo chamber, I understand that that's how you perceive it. And I'm not going to try to change your mind about that if that's how you see it. But I can rest assure you and everybody that's listening, I know how to be objective. Uh, and I really try hard not to take sides. And if I do take a side, it's purely for the purpose of generating a conversation, not necessarily trying to win a point or say, aha, you're wrong. So, but I hear you. You think I'm in an echo chamber, and fair enough. But I do resonate with you and recognize that, and not just you, but a lot of single mothers seem to feel very sensitive because a lot of the what's wrong with the world today, what's wrong with our children today, what's wrong with families today, it seems like the single mothers are catching the heat on that.
Well, I'm glad this conversation is organic because I want to jump in and say that, yes, single mothers are they're catching a lot of hell. That's true. Some of it is deserved. And I just want to segue back to Penny a little bit. And I think where I was going with Penny was that, listen, that's good if you have data that supports your position. It's good if there's data to support Doc's position because I believe there is. But it's also okay because there's going to be data for the other positions that are in the middle of the road. And I think when we talk about marriage and relationships and how people feel about being in them, especially when the conversation is designed to be helpful to others, we do have to lend voice to the other roles that we ourselves may not choose. So, um, this for single, there are some people who are single that, hey, they don't want to get married or they've been married and they're single now and they choose not to. I think just from off the top, it's more of let's evaluate all of the pieces of relationships so that we can, um, you know, learn from it or get something out of it as opposed to it being a whataboutism piece. I think that's where I stand, where I feel about it.
No, I didn't say what about anything. I just gave a perspective from the other side, saying that it's good for both sides. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't bash anybody. I just simply said, with respect to children, their best situation is both parents. I never said anything about bad single mom.
Well, the whataboutism piece.
Let me say this to be clear about it. There are some amazing single moms out there, and I will never take that from them. Barack Obama was raised by an amazing single mom. There's a ton of examples of that. LeBron James, another single mom. Dwayne Wade, another single mom, right? But I didn't bash anything, right? I said the best situation for children is two parents. That's akin to me saying that if you want to be successful, you get an education and work hard. Are there people that have come out of prison that are successful after committing felonies and going to prison? Absolutely. Am I going to present that as the best case scenario for a path for an individual? No. Is that me bashing the person that went to prison and made some of themselves? No. I'm saying the better path is this one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
that's not me bashing. That's me stating the facts.
Okay, so the bashing and the whataboutism that vibe came before you brought up the single moms and that was before that, and it was not meant to get you riled up. It was just I know
he's going to get riled up. Now. That's what Penny does. Penny, that's why he on this show. That's why he here.
Let's rile it together, Penny. Okay.
Look, that's why he on here, because he like to fight, right?
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's why I'm on here, because I like getting back.
Yeah. You think this was an accident? This wasn't no accident.
Right. This was very intentional, honey.
Right. I'm just saying that even in when you were attempting to present your position, it was sounding whataboutism and it was sounding bashy. So you disclosed that tone probably unknowingly, or maybe you did it subtly and you did it intentionally, Penny, because I wouldn't put nothing past you.
AC Curry says, it's amazing to me how the logic changed, where men are defending marriage and women are against marriage. So AC Curry, tell us more, elaborate on that. That's a really good salvo that you just plopped over there. Meanwhile, while we're waiting on that, what I want to do is Cruz said something that I want to pick up on. I was going to start with what another area referring to towards the end of the previous episode that Doc Locks referred to, but we're going to get to that. But Cruz said something about the purpose of marriage is to honor God. So let me throw this out here. It's a two-part question. First part. Do women today still have a problem with the word submission?
Okay.
We were just talking about
this just before the show.
Okay.
I got to sound off. I got to do a Penny real quick. Let me get some Florida Penny in here. Okay. So here's my problem with this submission thing. And this is, I just feel so sorry for you men because you guys will mess up a ham sandwich. Okay. Here's the point. A good woman is on submission autopilot anyway. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to convince a good woman. You don't have to do anything. Just be the man you are, and a good woman is going to be in submission. Period. That is a woman. The issue with the topic of submission when it comes to men is, for some reason, the tainted man, the problematic man, seems to feel or projects that women somehow, once they get into this relationship or this marriage, that they no longer have a brain, they no longer have goals, they no longer possess the traits that attracted the man to her to begin with. Somehow it's this, you gotta be in submission. And men are so deaf that you don't even understand that the woman was already in submission mode. So when the woman says, wait, hold on a minute, I'm on submission autopilot, then we get the Penny Floridaism where it's like, See, you don't want to submit. You got a problem. And then that turns into a big argument. You guys can't see, and you don't really understand what submission is. You think it's something else. You think it's like some type of slavitude or something of that nature. A lot of men have this submission thing.
Why gotta be a Floridianism though?
It's a penny
Why
for
gotta be a Florida is a penny Floridianism though?
to ensure
That's
that
a new
I am
terminology.
satisfying you.
It's a new.
sir.
That's a
I
new.
feel attacked.
You,
Well,
you,
should.
you
Don't
famous.
feel
Hey,
attacked.
hey, dog, you
No.
famous now. You famous
This
now.
isn't an
Your
attack.
name is going to be
Right.
associated with so many discussions now. It's going to go viral.
Nancy Penny.
It's going to be a T-shirt. You can brand the hell out of that.
That's your moneymaker right there, the T-shirt.
I don't think that men think that submission is slavery and servitude. I think women think that. I don't think men know that. I think men that know. I think men that can attract women know that a woman will submit to you and follow your path, whether they're good or bad. There's men that are on a very interesting path. We'll say interesting. They're on a very bad path that women are on there will follow them gladly. I mean, look at the relationship between pimps and prostitutes. I mean, that's submission. They will follow them blindly. Look at the women that are holding it down for the dude that's selling drugs, and she's gladly holding it down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, but I don't think that. I think that it's been perverted to mean something other than what it is.
Such as
slavery and servitude. That's not submission. And leading is not with an iron fist. I don't. She would say this. She's here. She would say this. She's gladly submissive to me, but I don't think that she would say I lead with an iron fist. I lead through service.
Well, a woman who is in a relationship and able to be that 100% woman, be 100% of herself, of course, doesn't view being submissive as servitude and slaveship and what have you. That's the distinction I was trying to make. That a woman naturally is going to be submissive to the man she's in love with or in relationship with for the most part. Of course, there's going to be some level of disruption every now and then, but for the most part, that's not an issue. The problem is that there are some men, not necessarily, you, Penny, or you, George, but there are some men who they have the concept of submission misconstrued. And so they believe that women, once they get into this relationship, somehow, all right, now you do it like this, you do this, you do, and any goal, any objective, any desire, any self-improvement, any of that, she should no longer possess. And that's where it gets perverted, because now the willing to be submissive woman is now trying to argue the fact that, listen, I can be submissive and I can be who I am as well without it being an issue.
I think that there was a time in this country, in the development of the country, that the average woman was socialized to be naturally submissive. But feminism stepped in, and I think that upset the whole platform beginning there. And then you can break that down racially, okay? But we didn't even have to bring race into it yet, although it's definitely there. The concept of feminism started to make women really reevaluate this whole submission piece. Now, when I say this is not to put blame on anything, because the question is, do women today still have a problem with submission? And what I noticed is that instead of answering the question from the woman's perspective, the answer had to involve the man and what he did.
Well,
All I'm asking is, and when I'm bringing that up is because I'm looking to see where today's woman is on this concept.
So why not ask a question like that? Why not ask, where are women today? When we're talking about submission, how do they feel about submitting in 2023, instead of how you phrased it, like the problem? Do we have a problem?
So my question was worded inappropriately.
I won't say that. It just seems like there is, because I deal with words, the way it was worded puts the issue on the woman. Now, it was answered by the one and only Mel Cruz that way because when women submit, they're generally submitting to men, right? In relationships. So when we talk about submission and it being problematic, we have to look at why it is viewed as problematic.
Right.
We have to look at how the word submit and obey may have changed over even our lifetimes, right? But I was somewhere recently where a pastor broke these two concepts down because the scripture, everybody wants to quote, wives, obey your husbands
Right.
and, submit to your husbands. But when you read the whole verse, it talks about men submitting to their wives and loving their wives as Christ loved the church.
Right.
And when you're in that, then you realize and understand that you are leading from a point of service.
Of
You're
service, right.
leading from a point of making sure people's well-being is taken care of. You're
Right.
leading with your heart, and you're leading from a place of I want to make sure all who are under my care are well taken care of and well supported, whatever that looks like. Right. So when we talk about this with with men who have not been trained or don't understand it from that perspective, submission begins to look very different. Okay. And if we grew up in the church 30 years ago, that's not how it was presented. Um, and that's not what I'll just speak for myself. That's not how it was presented to me, and that's not how it was presented in our house. Um, my dad had the final say, and my mom doted on my father. So for some women growing up in that model, that is a lot of work. Okay. And even before the show started, Mel Cruz and I were talking, and I said, it's very difficult. It's a lot of work being the heartbeat of the home
Yeah.
because that's what a wife is.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are the heartbeat, that means you regulate everything in the house.
Right.
That is a lot of work. And it doesn't mean that you're the leader. It just means that you're the facilitator, right? You oversee the functions of the home. That is a lot of work. So if people first aren't trained on what a wife is and the duties of a wife and the duties of a husband, and they get married, it becomes very difficult to even maintain that relationship. So I don't know if actually submitting is the problem, but understanding what submission is and what it means in your household may be the bigger problem.
Well, okay. So, because that kind of gets into the second part of this question, if, as you all say, that women are already set for submission, that they already submit, and the problem is that men don't understand, and not just men, but Cruz said the tainted man, and you said the untrained man.
And
So,
woman.
okay. So,
Uh-huh.
so, okay. But yeah, okay. So,
I mean, because there is a maturity piece in there too, because you can't be selfish and think that, that and expect a person cannot be selfish and you think they're just going to be like submission autopilot 100. They got it in them, but they may not be operating in that.
so are you saying that the problem with this word submission really rests between immature people, male and female, that just don't understand the word submission?
I think
Is that what you all are saying?
I think, like what Doc said about the old school understanding of what submission actually is in a relationship, I think that old school lesson is still prevalent today. A lot of people are still getting, they're reading from the expired book, if you will, or what have you, the first version of the book. And some people don't want to read from any other book. They want to view it like they view it, and that's totally up to them. But submission, the man has to be doing his thing in order for the woman to willingly submit.
So again, just to be clear, you all are saying that the problem with submission does not rest with mature male and female. That the mature male, the trained male and female, have no issues with the concept of submission. This issue of submission resides in those who are untrained, tainted, or immature.
I think
Understanding. Mhm.
I think that if we're speaking of the concept of marriage, I think that the fact that marriage is first of all, it's a very selfless institution. The antithesis of marriage is selfishness. And we are raised in an extraordinarily selfish society, right? That is centered around very carnal things, right? Money, appearance, things that are, and if we're speaking in the biblical sense, not important. And, biblical instructions are pretty clear. The scripture that we often quote, it does lay out an order. It says there's two instructions that are given, one behind the other. Wives, be submissive to your husbands. Your husband love your wife as Christ does the church. The instruction there is, you listen to him, but if you have to, you need to die for her. And that's the oversimplified response there. You know what I'm saying? And there is a requirement. She only listens if he's going to die for her. And in everything, he needs to serve and protect. There's an order there. And of course, there's a much more context. And I don't want to get preachy. I'm a pastor, a preacher's kid, but it's in order for a reason. It doesn't mean he can't rule over her with an iron fist. It doesn't say that in the word. And that's where bad men and bad men get it wrong. And I think that, and women get it wrong bad men get it wrong, and then women get it wrong when they use that bad men to then broad brush everybody else, all the other men. But the Bible is pretty clear, and there's nothing wrong with those instructions. I think that what has really tainted us is this power dynamic revolved around money and the power that the power that money brings. And I think that's the biggest battle. It's not submission that's the issue with respect to coupling. It's this power dynamic revolved around finances. Because there was an article, what is the guy's name? He wrote a book about men and boys. He wrote a book about boys. It's on the tip of my tongue. He wrote an article and he said that it's kind of funny how marriages were more stable when they were unequal. But the more equal that they've gotten, the less stable that they are. Because there's this power dynamic with money, right? When two individuals view money as power, then you're not going to get submission. And with women earning more, which is a great thing, they see that power. And so, and I shouldn't say submission, cooperation is the word I was looking for. It's not submission is the problem, it's cooperation. Because, in today's marriages, all you have to do is cooperate. If you're this power couple, and you'll be just fine. It's the cooperation piece that becomes the problem.
So let's tie that into the finance, the economics piece, because in part one, Doc Locks did refer to the evenness of economic ability in both male and female. So how does submission apply to a relationship where the economics, actually the wife is the breadwinner, the wife makes more money? How does submission look? And let's be real now, don't be politically correct, y'all, because we've all seen these scenarios. How does submission look in a marriage where the wife is the breadwinner? Does she submit to her husband?
Yes, she does, and she can. And submission looks like submission is, especially in, depending on how new or how old the marriage is, submission can almost be on autopilot. The woman knows her man wants this, likes this, etc. So the issue or the problem arises when somehow, hey, why would you do that when you know that I don't like that? Why are you putting meat when you know I'm vegan? You know what I mean? Um, so just I don't agree with that power disadvantage or the power dynamic being a problem. I mean, it is in some relationships, but if you're talking, I don't see that as being the sole reason, or even a critical reason why there might be submission issues. I think the biggest problem is that the man somebody in the relationship has the wrong understanding of what submission is, and that's where the problem begins.
I agree with that. I also think when you're married for a very long time, the role of breadwinner changes. So when my parents got married, my dad made more money. But over the course of their 50 years together, my mother has made more money. Okay. But because they already had an agreement, they knew how the money was coming in and where it was going. Right. Even some friends of mine, I was talking to a guy a few days ago, and he was like, my wife has always made more money, but she has always respected me. So there's never been a problem. So I think it's how people understand each other. Um, and when I used to do life coaching and I would talk to couples, I would tell women, just because you make more money doesn't make you the leader now, right? It it doesn't give you anything else more but just money. So if you still don't have the skill to pay the bills or to make sound decisions at home, then don't try to step into that role. Um, in marriage, we have to play to our strengths. So if I'm married and I'm a CPA, then maybe I need to handle the bills because I know money. Or if I'm a finance person, then maybe I need to handle the bills. That doesn't mean that I'm over you. That's just an aspect that I know more about maybe, but everybody should know everything in the marriage. And I agree, submission, I think, has been tainted um, by toxic men
Mm.
who had trouble getting women. I'm trying to choose my words, who had trouble getting women or keeping women, and they reverse engineer what happened. Right? She for the streets because I couldn't keep her. I'm a good man. But he might not be a good man. He might not be a good person. He might not be a good leader. And that's why the women keep leaving him or not following him.
So, again, this is my parents are the exception to the rule. I don't think that most women that out earn their men are submissive to those men. I don't think that they want to be submissive to those men. If that were the case, you know, we would see that not be the number one excuse for them not, one of the number one excuses for them not marrying. There just aren't masses of women looking to marry men that earn less than they do. And I say that with coming from a two-parent household was my mom out earned my father. My father's not college educated, my mom is, and she out earned him for the entirety of their marriage. We didn't know that as children because we wasn't in grown folks' business. We didn't find out until much later, and just intimate conversations with our parents. But he still, kind of ruled the day. But in my own personal, and these are anecdotal, right? Observations in the few times in which I've seen, women are earning their husbands, they wore the pants. It was no question. And they didn't have, they complained a lot about him, even if he had a decent earning job. They complained about it. It was a problem, and it all revolved around finances and how she's carrying all the weight. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, you guys are married. It's kind of a team effort. It's not about who carries what. It's kind of you lean to your strengths, and Doc Wise, I agree. If my wife is I thought I was frugal. She is much more frugal than I am. She prefers to pay cash in some instances because she doesn't want to pay a 1% convenience fee That's how frugal she is. And so, but I'm more up to date with technology. I'm good at, like QuickBooks and all those other technological apps than she is. She's more pen and paper person. So I let her make the financial decisions. I just keep the books. She makes decisions. I keep the books because, she's more efficient at, more frugal at spending the dollars. I'm more, better at, just organizing it. And so we kind of play to our strengths. And I think that in most healthy relationships, that's how it works. I think that, and to steal a line from Kevin, the first time I heard him say it, the color purpling of America, I think that we've allowed that to kind of paint marriage, Black marriage in America. And I think movies like that have painted this negative picture of men. Now, there's toxic men out there, married or otherwise, but I think I say this with confidence, I think that most married couples operate in a cooperative, manner that's healthy. And I say most. I'm not talking about people that have divorced. I'm talking about people that are still married and trying to stay married. I think most of them operate in a very healthy manner. I think the extremes are the exception, not the rule.
Well, I want to just say the last thing on this concept of submission. I think submission, this will serve to be another good podcast discussion in and of itself. But we see, I Watch You, my friend, has a statement about submission, and I want to say something, and I want to move on to one last area before we get ready to close out. I Watch You, my friend, says, I think the word submission itself is archaic. Family model change. It's kind of collaboration, like an enterprise where each one has his role. Submission thing is just a sexual kink right now. So that might be worth some. We'll have to bring that back in, on the other podcast. I would like to just add this aspect as far as it pertains to economics, gender, and what it means being a man. To me, submission is not about who's in charge. It's not about who pays the bills versus who washes the dishes. To me, submission is about the vision, the leadership of the unit. That's how I see that. And a real man is not intimidated or influenced by his woman's money-making power. Not in the slightest. He's happy for whatever, a real man now is happy for whatever accomplishment she can make, because it does not, if he's a real man, it does not impact his self-esteem, how he sees himself. And it should not impact his love for her either way. He loves her whether she is rich or broke, because he didn't take her on based on her financial, hopefully, her financial level. He took her on because he made a commitment to her. And men do men stuff. It's got nothing to do with what she's doing. But we can bring that into another discussion. What I want to do is take this out on this last thing, because Doc Locke said something at the end of the part one that I think really was very powerful. It was her delivery was hilarious, but it was really powerful. And so it inspired me to ask this question. What is sexy about marriage, and why don't married people show it or talk about it? Because Doc Locke said married people don't show how sexy.
No, I didn't say that. I said married people don't make marriage sexy.
Okay, yeah, right.
Okay.
So
they
why?
don't. When we talk to our married friends, they complain.
So yeah. Talk more, but say what you said about that. Like, you had a friend and you asked her how so and so is doing. Remember what you said?
No, I don't, but I do know.
You said you asked your friend, "Hey, how's your husband doing?" And she said, "Yeah, he all right."
Yeah.
So, married couples just they don't really show the hype, the buzz about marriage. If it's got all these benefits, why aren't people showing it?
Right.
So if I can jump in on this one, I think that it's kind of like there's obviously there's gonna be a lot of flying metaphors. It's kind of like as a passenger on the plane, if you get on the plane and the meal is good, service is great, flight was smooth, hell, you even landed a few minutes early. You don't really get off the plane. Oh my God, that was amazing! That was amazing. No, right. let the flight get delayed. Let there be turbulence. Let them lose your bag. You're gonna tell it to the world. Just like with good customer service, it's rare that if the service is good, you just kind of expect it, right? You don't always praise them. It's got to be freaking outstanding for you to praise it. So, and then we're adults on this stage. I guarantee you that if he would have surprised he would have surprised her with a brand new car randomly on a Tuesday, randomly with a bouquet of roses. Oh my gosh, you'd have been screaming from the rooftops. So for married people to kind of brag about how great marriage is, because in a marriage, you kind of expect things to be kind of good, right? It's not until things go bad, you're like, I don't know about this. I need to say something. But when things are good, they just don't kind of say anything. Like, for example, I'm in here, Mark and I just decided to go to see Dave Chappelle just randomly. You know what I'm saying? Dave Chappelle came to Orlando. We just, take a day to see Dave Chappelle. Had a blast. We had a freaking blast. Nobody here in our family went to see Dave Chappelle. Nobody knows we went. We didn't brag about it. We didn't say anything, but it was an amazing time. There are other things that we do. Like, she made a meal yesterday because we're trying to eat healthy, and she put together this chicken meal yesterday. It was freaking amazing. I don't like zucchini. I don't like red onions and all that other different stuff, but she hooked it up, put them y'all magical black woman seasonings on it, and it was freaking amazing. I didn't brag about that to anybody. But those are the good things about marriage that happen every day that I don't say anything about. But you let her be late getting dressed for church because I got to be in church on time because I work. I'm going to be pissed off about it. I'm probably going to tell somebody she made me late. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay. All right. What say you? Penny says, hey, the things that hype marriage up are typically what you expect. So just because you get what you expect, there's no hype there. But it's the negative things, the things that disappoint you that get more notification. What do you say, Cruz?
I mean, I feel like, I think depending on the type of marriage is, the couple is happy to just have the good days and the good times and things of that nature, see their plan, their vision and stuff come together. And I think a good couple, as long as the two of them can share the joy between each other, that's all they need. And when a marriage is troublesome, I think sometimes in the back of their mind is, okay, what am I going to do if this breaks up? Then I got to explain to the mother-in-law or the father-in-law or the kids or this or that, so the fact that they don't have to bear that level of stress or, potentiality is like, okay, great. Look, between me and you, baby, we doing this damn thing. And they rather keep it like that. And some women don't want other women to know how good their situation is. Okay. As some men don't want, you know what I mean? So that's why. But we see sexy marriages when they hit that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20 year anniversary, when they go on vacations. I mean, well planned, well executed vacations as a couple or as a family. In those respects, we see some sexy marriages.
Okay. Doc?
What do you want me to say? I still don't think people present marriage as sexy, and I don't know why.
I agree with you.
Because I am the person, and my friends pick on me about this. I'm the one who fills out all the surveys, right? So if somebody hands me something to say, hey, let me know how I did today, I'm filling it out. Right. And if it was a great experience, then I'm going to say it was a great experience. If it was a bad experience, then I'm going to say that too. And recently there was an issue, and I said, I'm going to have to construct and craft an email. And she was like, we really hate for your educator side to come out because there's about to be 5 pages already. But so I when I was married, I always wanted my partner to be seen in a very good light. So I didn't talk about the negative aspects.
Right.
I only talked about the good. And I, wanted him to feel good in our union. So for people on the outside looking in, our marriage was sexy, but it really wasn't day to day, right? And I think, but if more people were like, "Oh, I got a good husband," and just left it at that, sometimes that's enough, right? You don't need to tell all the business about the goodness, but
All the
just
business about the goodness. Mm.
right? Because sometimes we can overshare.
Uh-huh.
I think y'all know what I'm talking about. And then somebody else will be with you, man. Right?
Ain't nobody oversharing with you, Penny. You good.
My wife, she ain't gonna do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why she's not oversharing. That's why she's not oversharing.
I've been in that situation.
So I just think if I were married, like if I were to get married, I can't even imagine getting married now. But if I were to get married, or even to be partnered with a man, my family and friends would hear only the good things, right? And I'm not one that vomits on a lot of people. Like I don't go and run and say, "Oh, we had an argument," and no, I don't do all of that. I'm very private. It's very internal for me. So he would seem like a demigod to others.
Ooh, a demigod.
That's too much.
But
hey.
Doc, real quick, that's actually a rule in my household, and it's something that I adapted from my family. And one thing that my father shared with me, and one of my uncles actually shared with me as well. He said, you got to be careful how you talk about your significant others to your family and your friends, because they don't love them like you love them.
Right.
And if they are upset with them, you'll get over it. They probably won't. Right. If it's something small, so you got to be careful with that. And that's a very important rule in my household. We don't share that anger. We don't share that anger with each other toward other people.
Don't do that.
Plus, that wouldn't make the marriage look sexy anyway. So that would defeat the whole point.
I watch you, my friend, says, not being racist or against marriage, but us Black people should rethink the marriage model. Look at the statistics. Most fathers who leave their families in America are Black. So now I should not have read that one at the end, because that starts a whole another line of discussion. That
David Duke in our comments.
That's a real powerful discussion, and so I watch you, my friend. Thank you for sharing that. That is going to get carried over into a future podcast, and I hope you stick around. I want to do a round robin on the way out, and in keeping in the mindset of marriage sexiness, I want all of you, will begin with Penny and end with Cruz, to list a couple you think best represents a sexy marriage and why. It can be a celebrity
or anybody.
It can be a celebrity or somebody that you know, that you've experienced.
My uncle, my great uncle, and my aunt, they're both actually passed. These are my grandmother's siblings. My Uncle John and his wife, Eula, we called her B. He loved that woman to no end, and she loved her husband to no end. And I mean, I'm talking about 40, 50 years of straight love. I never, ever, ever heard her say a disparaging word about her. And when folks in my family, his blood relatives, took issue with something that she did, he didn't come around for a while. He chose his wife over his family because he didn't appreciate it. That's how much that man loved his wife. And the love, and he loved marriage too, but because he has a great reverence for people that are married, but he loved his wife, and I loved their union. And when the energy that they gave off was almost, childhood crush-ish, if that's a word. I'm creating words to illustrate my point. it was almost like they had crushes on each other. You could see it, like when they're in the room, ruining each other. And I love that. So that for them, God rest their souls, they were that marriage for me.
Doc Locks.
I would have to say my parents. They get on my nerves, child.
My nerves.
So my parents met, I think I've shared this before on this platform, like when they were 16, and dated through college, high school sweethearts, and they're still married today. But in their marriage, I have watched them yield to one another and grow together with being Christ-centered, right? And watching their relationships grow through good times and bad times. And even now, like, they do everything together now, right? And they're just so ridiculous with it. So yesterday, my dad had to have like something done to his eyes, and my mother's not a good driver. And she was like, I'm sitting outside the doctor's office, I'm waiting for your dad, and we're gonna drive home together. And I was like, he gonna let you drive? So a few minutes later, they're getting in the car, and my dad's like, I'm driving. I'm like, wait a minute. You can't see. He's like, I can see better blind than she can.
He was honest.
Right. And I can drive better blind, and and just to hear them laugh about that and it's been said like a million times over the 50 years. But I think seeing them survive and thrive through marriage is a sexy concept and model.
Awesome. Cruz.
Oh, God. I can't hear you. I'm joking. Right. I don't know. That's really, to be honest with you, I can't think of a celebrity or I can't think of one and be able to give you information that I know that can, support it. Maybe back in the day I might have just said Will and Jada.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, you're not going to say nothing.
You just can't. I'll tell you what. I would say one that I can rely on is, I guess, the husband of the wife in Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman. Mm-hmm. Now that's a marriage. That's marriage goals. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm reading Proverbs now. I love it.
Yeah. And then also, if we want to start with scripture, and I can't remember the lady's name, but Penny, since you're a PK, or both of y'all said y'all were. So the woman who built the room for Elijah to stay at when he would visit. You guys know what I'm saying? I'm talking about Penny?
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, but she had a husband, and the way their relationship worked was, she was a baller. She was handling business, and that husband clearly, this part of the scripture says that she went and told him, say, hey, this is what I want to do. Clearly the husband didn't have a problem with it, and he let it happen. So you're talking about marriage goals and something worth, modeling after. I would say those two people in the scripture in the Bible.
Awesome.
The Shunamite woman?
Because her son died, and yeah. He ran, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to add my 50 cents. I am going to use as the example of a sexy marriage, Barack and Michelle Obama. Now, does that mean I agree with their politics? No. Does that mean I disagree with their politics? No. Because I'm not discussing politics right now. I always take an objective lens. Do I have an opinion about their politics? Sure, but that's not why I'm picking them. I'm picking them because they best represent much of what we discussed here this evening. Barack is unapologetically a man. He is visionary. He exudes leadership, but not in a Trumpian leadership sort of way.
Mhm.
And again, not from a political perspective, just from a personality perspective. He doesn't exude leadership in a Trumpian sort of way, because I think the Trumpian sort of way is what a lot of women would say is why men give submission a bad name. And then equally, he's got a powerful woman who is just as competent as he is, yet without losing any breath or having any anxiety, submits to his leadership in a powerful, secure way, not one where it's deprecating and demeaning. And the most powerful video clip of that couple during their tenure in the White House was when they fist bumped. That messed everybody up, people that were just total haters. But it was the power that symbolism of that union represented. I'll never forget that. It showed two powerful figures that knew how to work together. I was reading some quotes. I wanted to kind of find an appropriate quote, and I haven't found the most appropriate one, but I found one that kind of gets close, and I'm still even going to manipulate that. So I'd like to end the show on this quote. My partner makes me laugh, has wiped my tears, has hugged me tight, watched me succeed, seen me fail, kept me strong, but most of all, has promised that I will have a friend forever.
It's a nice quote.
Doesn't mention anything about washing dishes, who makes more money, all those, worldly type things. So I just thought that was a pretty powerful piece. Y'all, this has been great. Let's go out and make marriage sexy, America.
Yes.
I command you.
Oh, Lord.
Let's make marriage successful. Submit to me and make marriage sexy. Doc's not laughing. I'm trying to get her to. She never laughs at my jokes.
I did laugh. I laughed when you said it the first time.
Jenny found it hilarious.
It's funny.
Hey, and thank you. I watch you, my friend, for your last. Oh, hold on. Here, one more thing. Let me put up real quick. I watch you, my friend says, I'd say celebrity like Leo Messi. They married their first crush, then never divorced, even when they became rich and famous. That's kind of sexy. All right. Oh, sexy AF. Y'all know what that means. Okay. All right.
Denzel and his wife, same thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They make that. That's good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Samuel L. Jackson. There's another one. Eminem's wife, same thing.
Okay.
And they went through it.
They did. They did.
Okay. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
All right. So, hey, this has been great. Thanks for the listeners, watchers, and viewers. Great panel. Mel Cruz, Doc Locks, Penny. Y'all sure mixed it up. It was a lot of swinging, nipping, tucking.
Yeah.
And we came up with a new term. The Penny Floridianism. Is that it?
There you go. That's it. That's a whole phenomenon.
That's the phenomenon. Get the t-shirt.
Yeah.
We're gonna get that and start branding that.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. And until the next time we meet, we'll see you in the black space.